Hello, Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody from Radio Mayapur, which is the link to your heart. Today we are in Mayapur. It's really hot. Yesterday we had a wonderful Abhishekam of Narasimhadev. It was his appearance day. And we try to serve the Lord with devotion. We put a lot of milk and honey and Ganges water and a lot of tulsi and flour. And devotees were happy in watching this either in the television, in their computer, or listening to the music. So it's very hot in Mayapur, and the Lord wants to get cooled down and given a nice shower bath. We give the special bath to the Lord, so the Lord become pleased, and so the Lord can protect us. So Mayapur is a wonderful place, and one of the inhabitants of Mayapur, my friend, today happened to be with us. His name is Prabhupada Das. Welcome, Prabhupada Das Prabhu.
Jai Prabhupada.
I'm so happy to know you because you are a wonderful devotee. And Prabhupada Boss, let me introduce him a little bit. Prabhupada Das. He was born in Philadelphia in 1953. He studied in Roman Catholic High School. And eventually he met the devotee in 1968 in downtown Philadelphia. So, Prabhupada Das, welcome to Radio Mayapur.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to have you with us.
Likewise.
And please, Prabhupada Das, tell us a little bit about, because your life, you grew up there in America and you did so many things. But at one point in your life, things changed. It took a different trajectory. So tell us a little bit about your family.
If I may, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shumate Bhaktivedanta Swami Te Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paschatadase Tarane. So my life is very materially meager. I was born in South Philly among the Italians, the mafia, and, just those standard row houses. And I had 3 brothers, 3 sisters. And any good fortune I have has come to me from iskcon, Srila Prabhupada's iskcon. So before iskcon, I never thought of anything progressive or spiritual, or I just thought of sense gratification. When I was growing up, the thing is strut. You know what this means, to strut?
To strike.
To strut. When you walk a certain way like you're a tough guy, right?
You walk left.
So
Leave
like,
me alone.
Yeah, man. So when I'm growing up, I'm polishing my strut. Stuff like this.
Right.
So then one day when I was 15, I was downtown and I was passing the big train station, which was like 100 years old. And on the steps of the train station are these Hare Krishna devotees. And they're going back and forth. They're in the robes, the saris, they're going back and forth. So I never seen this before.
It was a different culture.
Different culture, man. I thought, whatever.
What?
I'm from South Philly, So I look at them, and then I look away, and I won't look at them again.
You got scared?
Not scared. I didn't like it. It was too much for me.
Right.
And I remember thinking, how could they do this?
How can they be allowed to do this?
How could they do this? And not being allowed, but how could they personally do this?
Okay, as a person.
Yeah, be out on the street, because my whole profile was to be cool, whatever. But these guys are over here in sheets and saris and they're singing and whatever. So I won't look at them anymore. And I just go by. So that's 1968.
They were like out of the box. They were like from some movie or some different planet.
I don't know what, but they shocked my little existence, man, I didn't know what was happening. So, when I was growing up in South Philly, a lot of time I wasn't in South Philly because I was in institutions. I did 12 years in institutions before I was 18.
What type of institution?
I started out with orphanages because my mom went crazy and went to the mental hospital, shock treatments, this and that. Then there was no structure in my house, so we all did whatever we wanted. So then the courts, I would never go to school. I bucked school for like 3 months in a row.
Of course.
You know, and so then the courts got me, the truant officers, the courts. So then they sent me to reform school.
Okay.
So I did 13 months in reform school, run by the Catholics.
Was it tough?
Oh yeah, there's so many bullies and so many weirdos, you know what I mean? It was rough. There was like 180 kids there, you know?
All the nectar of the society, they put them together.
Yeah. And this was one of the better places. They wanted to put me in another place, but my mother's uncle was a high court judge and he got me in with the Catholics. Otherwise, they were going to stick me in a more hardened place. So anyway, I did 13 months. I went there when I was 12, got out. I was out 9 months, and I was back for another 13 months. So then the court said, if we let this guy go back to his neighborhood, he's going to just come back to reform school. So they put me in a halfway house. A halfway house is where you're halfway in reform school and halfway out. You live in a regular house. They got prefects, priests, and laymen, and you go to school there. And they took really good care of you, man, because the Catholics got a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, so you got your own room. They're dressing you real nice. They're the ones that made me go to that Roman Catholic high school.
But did you learn something about God as well?
No, I never. Before iskcon, I never thought of God one time. Never.
But the Catholic people, they're...
Hey, I was in reform school, I was the priest boy. The priest boy was the guy that served the priest, because in reform school, they were all Christian brothers.
Right.
With the bib, you know?
Yeah.
And I was the priest boy. I served him his food. I actually got to eat with him in his apartment and everything, you know.
But they never share any realization about
I didn't ask, and they weren't, you know.
They were not sharing.
No.
They
it was
were
all
not
official
or something.
No, they were cool. They were trying their best, you know.
But you were not interested.
I just was a dull boy.
I see.
You know what I mean? Just was a dull boy. So I got out of that halfway house when I was 19. Well, what happened is, between the times in the different stints of the reform school I was doing, then in 1968, I started to see the devotees downtown after I saw them at the train station. And I never liked them.
Right.
I never liked them. As a matter of fact, I used to belong to a gang in South Philly. We used to have these big belts, these big leather belts, and they had this buckle. It was called the D buckle, and it was part of a parachute. You used to get them at the Army Navy store. And then you attach it to your belt. Well, then you take the belt off, you wrap the leather around, and then you would fight with them. You know, it's like a weapon. And we would say, we're going to find the Hare Krishnas and we're going to beat them. Yeah, this is what I was thinking of. Wow. So from 68 to 72, every time I saw the devotees downtown, this had to be 30 times.
Yeah, because
in those 4 years, I would curse them. I would insult them. I was a rude dude, man. I was like a junkyard dog. And they would just, I don't know, they'd be looking at me pitiful or something. I wasn't really tuned in, you know. If I was in a good mood, I would just walk on the other side of the street when I saw them, you know. So finally, after doing this for 4 years, you can imagine where I was going. I was going to hell in a bucket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then in 1972, after I got out of high school, I was downtown and this one big Irish brahmachari, Trilochan. Trilochan's a name for Lord Shiva. It means the three eyes.
Yeah.
Trilochan Das. Now, Trilochan Das, he was also a street kid. You could tell just by looking at him and his demeanor, you know what I mean? And he was like 6'2", 6'3". Huge. So he comes up to me, he tries to give me one of Prabhupada's paperbacks, right? So I give him my... He looked at me and he said, "You're just a little punk." And then he just left me. He just left me. He didn't say anything else. He just went to find somebody else. So by Trilochan Das's mercy, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, for the first time in my life, I thought, I shouldn't do this. This isn't good. I never thought this before. But this time when Trilochan gave me the verbal slap,
Yeah.
something happened.
You understood.
Something happened. Well, it was the beginning, you know. I thought, I shouldn't do this. This isn't good. So I looked for Trilochan, downtown Philly. Now, downtown Philly is like all those big Chicago, New York. It's packed. And I'm looking for him, and I can't find him. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Finally, after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I see him, and he's talking to somebody. So I wait, and then I go up to him, and I apologized, and I gave him $2. And he gave me a little paperback, On the Way to Krishna, something like that, Raja Vidya, one of those ones, you know. He gave me that, and he told me to come to the Sunday feast. So after I got out of the halfway house, they got me this high-tech job. I was working downtown Philly in an insurance company run by all young guys. It was very, very supposed to be on cutting edge, right? I was the mail clerk. I was delivering the mail, right? But after I apologized to Trilochan Das Prabhu, my envy went away.
Amazing.
So on my lunch hour from working on the 30th floor of a high-rise in Philly, I would find the devotees downtown and I would ask them, who are you? What are you? Where do you live? What's up, you know?
What are you doing?
So after talking to them for 2 months, finally I go to the Sunday feast. So I go to the Sunday feast, and I remember when I walked in the temple room, the lighting and the smell, it was like nothing I ever experienced. The lighting was like Christmas lights, and the smell was incense. And I don't know what's going on, right? That's my first time inside, right? Then we go into the temple room. Now, because they had big Lord Jagannath deities, now they're bathing Lord Jagannath in yogurt in the middle of the floor. So my first time there, I got to bathe Lord Jagannath.
Wow.
And then after the kirtan and everything, and the lecture, then I'm sitting on the floor and I'm kind of wondering, you know, what's next. Then I look up and there's this blissful devotee and he's got this huge paper plate of food. It was killer, man, because it was all South Philly or Philly Italian. They had the eggplant with the peas and the tomato sauce with the curd. They had this, that they used to have the white porries with the powdered sugar on them. They had so I look at them. I'm sitting on the floor and I remember I said, "What, this is for me?" And he said, "Yeah."
Wow.
So I must have ate 3 or 4 of them puppies, you know what I mean? Now they're all calling me Bhakti Nick. They're all telling me, man, I ought to move in. Rath Yatra's coming. So the thing was, Nalini Kanta, you know Nalini Kanta?
Yeah.
He's a Prabhupada disciple.
Okay.
He's a very wonderful devotee. And
Sure.
when I was young, he read my chart. And when he read my chart, he said, "Man, you should have been born in the family of devotees or rich or something." I said, "Well, what happened? I was born in South Philly." I said, "My house was so dirty, I wouldn't even let nobody in. I was so embarrassed. You know what I mean? It was just, it was crazy. My life was upside down before iskcon. What happened? And he looked at me and he said, you had a big mouth. And in your last life, you offended a holy man. So.
Amazing, to understand this, that, to understand that if we offend a holy man, if you offend God, he doesn't mind.
Yeah.
But if you offend a holy man.
Yeah, he said, man, you should have been born plush.
Yeah.
But I said, well, what happened? So anyway, then I got out of South Philly. Me and my brother Das, who's also a devotee, he's 5 years younger, and we didn't have any money. We were always restricted because we're in the institutions. So we just hitchhike around. We did it for 3 years. I must have went coast to coast on my thumb with no money for 30,000 miles.
I know that.
Right? So we were loving it, man. You know, we would go and we would go out in the middle of like some big place like Wyoming or Nevada, you know. We would eat some LSD and stay up all night and look at the moon and the stars. We never saw this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So we did that. Then we came back. We wound up in Flagstaff, Arizona. I got married. I had the nicest wife. My first wife was a peach. She was a peach. She had a personality. My guru, Dave, was asking about her before he left in 2012 or 2016. He said, what about Deidre? So I said, well, Guru Dave, you know, everybody loves her. She's well respected, you know. And he said, she was always so cool. And that's what Deidre was. Deidre was a real, she was the gem, you know. So anyway, I blew that with my anger. You know, from being raised in the institutions, you know, from bullies, from pedophiles. Yeah.
You mean you carry a lot of resentment in your heart?
Just angry, bro. Just angry.
Angry because you went through such a tough situation.
Angry. I don't know why. Shit, man.
Why I had to go through this?
I don't know why I was so nuts. I was just nuts. You know what I mean?
Uncontrolled senses, uncontrolled mind.
Yeah, I was just a crazy boy. So I blew that. Then you say, you were asking me before, like, what kind of work did I do?
Yeah.
Well, since I was 19 and went to the temple first, then all I wanted to be was a Brahmin. But I could never do it. I must have tried. I must have laid in front of Prabhupada and the deities 50 times saying, I'm yours. This is it. Please help me. And 3 weeks later, I'm out on the street, dude. I couldn't do it, right? Try. I couldn't do it.
You couldn't give up the life which you...
I couldn't be a 4-regger. I was a serious 2-regger. I was a 2-regger, man. I just couldn't control my mind or senses, you know? So I did not learn a trade until I was in my early 30s. In my early 30s, finally I came to the conclusion that, dude, you're not going to be a Brahmin. And Nalini Kanta told me in the chart, he said, don't even try to get initiated before you're 50. He says, you ain't going to do it. Right? But I was trying. So then I started to learn how to paint. Before painting, I was digging ditches. I was mixing cement. I was working, you know, it was all labor. My whole life was labor. Up to 62. All I did was labor. I don't know what I did last time around with my big mouth, but I was in for a hard time, man. There was no easy times to it, right? I was always wearing dirty clothes. There was no profiling. You know what I mean? So, but some of the beautiful things that happened to me from iskcon, of course, I got to be under the shelter of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, but I got to see Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that.
I got to see Srila Prabhupada 6 times.
Wow.
So the first time I saw His Divine Grace was 1973 in New York. that row house that you see Prabhupada's always in there. So what happened is I was living, me and Das were living in Oakland, California. Some of the South Philly boys, they were older and they were drug dealers, but they were devotees. They were gangsters and they were devotees at the same time. So they let me and Das live up in the attic. Me and Das never worked. We whatever we ate, or we were in la la land, man. I wasn't picking up. Somebody's buying the food. Somebody's washing the dishes, I was just a dull boy, right? So we had this, back in the day, in the hippie days, they had this thing called a drive-away, coast to coast, where
Drive cars,
right? So we got this drive-away. And
you have to just pick up the car and bring it to the other side.
Yeah, you pick it up in California, you drop it off where they want it, right?
Yeah, and they pay you some money.
Well, they didn't really pay you money, but, it was...
They pay your petrol or something.
Not really, not really, nothing. But, you got to drive. So what happened was we took like 3 or 4 devotees from San Francisco, Oakland to Philadelphia. And then we had to drive back, me and Joe Antonelli, Joe Ants. He was like about 5 years older, 6 years older, and he was a tough guy. And we drove it back to Chicago where the car went. So fortunately, the owner wasn't scrutinizing the miles and stuff, right? So we dropped it off. Then it's dead winter. Now we're hitchhiking back from Chicago to Philadelphia. We're freezing our butt off, man.
It's cool.
So Joe Ants, he knew that Srila Prabhupada's going to be at the New York temple. I didn't know. I'm just hanging with Joe Ants, right? I'm only into Krishna for 1 year. I don't know what's up, really. I'm just dressed in my denim. I'm a deadhead at best, right? So he takes me to the temple. So when we get inside the temple, it's like a beehive. I swear. And it's that beautiful color again, that Christmas-like color, Wasn't no hard lights and stuff, it was just beautiful. And everybody's the whole place, man, and it's packed because Prabhupada's there, right? So, I'm kind of like, surrounded by the big elephants and stuff, right? So I'm just, being cool, trying to keep a low profile. So all of a sudden, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, comes in the temple. And we all hit the deck, pay our obeisances.
Yeah.
So then I get up, and Prabhupada's right in front of me. He's like 5 feet in front of me.
Wow.
And I remember looking at Srila Prabhupada, and the first thing I thought was, oh, Prabhupada's short. Because I thought he was 10 feet tall, because he's doing all this superhuman stuff, right? So anyway, Prabhupada gives the class. Then after the class, His Divine Grace gets up off the Vyasa-san. He goes into the hallway and he's going upstairs. So we're all in the hallway and we're all like laying next to each other, like
on the floor,
right, as Prabhupada goes by. So this devotee next to me, I don't know who he is. He's dressed like a devotee. He's shaved up. When Srila Prabhupada goes by, he picks up a flower from the pathway. It was a little marigold. And he looks at me. And he shoves it in my mouth. He just shoved it in my mouth.
In your mouth.
And he said, eat it. Eat it. Just like a drill sergeant, right? So I'm laying next to him. And I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking. But I was thinking, okay, it's cool. I said, sometimes, they pick pokeweed and they make a salad. So it's cool. Somehow my mind accepted by Super Soul cut me a break, you know what I mean? So I ate that flower, right? So then we go back. Now we're in South Philly again, trying to get a job, trying to survive, living at mom and dad's house, Then the next time I saw His Divine Grace, I was back in California, and Srila Prabhupada arrived, this is 1974, for Rath Yatra. It's that famous picture where he's up on the stage with his arms up and everybody's gone nuts. So it's that, right? So I'm at the airport for that, for the arrival. And Srila Prabhupada comes in, and he's leading this procession of devotees. Now the Radha Damodar buses are there, all these book distributors. Me and Das were just like little fringies, you know what I mean? But we were there because we, it was Prabhupada's mercy, iskcon's mercy, we were there. But for 3 days before the Rath Yatra, they rented a big hall, and they're cutting up all the veggies and the fruit and getting ready for the big feast, right? So me and Das, we're doing that. Now we're at the airport, and Srila Prabhupada's coming down the hallway of the airport, and he's leading this procession of hundreds of devotees. And Prabhupada is smiling. He's got his cane, and he's so happy to be with his boys and girls. And I'm on the sideline looking, and all the other people in the airport, they're jumping up on the seats to get out of the way. Otherwise, they're going to get stampeded.
Because the kirtan was going on.
Because it was so wide, there was no room for anybody else, and everybody else was in Prabhupada consciousness. They was oblivious to anything else. And the whole crowd of devotees, they were doing this. They were going, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya. And the people, I still remember it, jumping up on the seats, the mothers grabbing the kids, putting them on the seats, the businessman up on the seat. Yeah. So then I get to the Rath Yatra at the Golden Gate Park. The first was at the airport. Now I'm at the Rath Yatra a day or two later. So I'm up on one of the wheels of the cart. They got 3 carts. And I'm up on one of the wheels, and I'm looking right at Mother Subhadra's cart and at His Divine Grace sitting there. He's up there. So this guy, this Indian gentleman, he comes up, puts a garland of money on Prabhupada. Prabhupada takes it off, puts it on his lap. Now, when we were living in that hippie place where they let me and Das sleep in the attic, Mike Ants and Joe Ants, the 2 brothers, there was a girl there, and she was the fiancée of one of the devotees where Vishnu Jan and Tamal Krishna Maharaj used to park their bus there in Oakland.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, this devotee, his name was Jerry then. Now he's Jagannath Das. He's the one that orchestrates to this day the San Francisco Rath Yatra, right? So his wife never really cared for me and Das because we were mooches, basically, right? We didn't. She came from like the high end of the family, you know what I mean? Me and Das were coming from the ghetto, right?
Yeah.
So she never really cared for us, you know what I mean? But me and Das didn't care. You know, we were in our own world, right? Well, anyway, she made this shawl for Prabhupada, you know, where they knit, they crochet.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, dude. It was huge. And it was the orange and the white blended together. You could still see it on the pictures. And when Srila Prabhupada, then she washed it, you know, she wouldn't let nobody see it, you know, definitely not me and Das, right? So she washed it, then she wrapped it like a big Christmas present, right? So I'm up on the wheel and I'm looking at His Divine Grace. I got the bird's eye view.
Yeah.
So this package comes up. Choom, 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 choom. So the sannyasis get it and they put it to the side. Prabhupada goes, no, give it to me. Now, it was cold in San Francisco on that day, and His Divine Grace did not have a proper jacket. He had the skull cap,
Right.
but that's all he had, and he was cold.
Yeah.
So he opened up that package, and he took out that shawl, and he opened it up, and he looked at it, and then he went, whoosh, and he put it on. And you know when somebody's cold and they get something warm, then they kind of go, you know, like that. You could see it. It's on the video following Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada snuggling in there, you know, and he wore it the whole way. Then by the time he got to where the stage was and everything, the devotees got him a beautiful white sweater. You know what I mean? That's what Prabhupada's wearing there. But in the beginning, he wasn't properly warm, you know, and he got that. So now we're at the stage. Now my brother is intelligent. He's up front looking at the whole thing. Well, me, all I can think about, because we didn't have any money, we're always hungry. You know what I mean?
You're thinking about
I'm thinking about the club jubbins, because they had like 5 or 10 big 50-gallon barrels of these club jubbins. And I'm just thinking, well, the brahmacharis back then, dude, they were tough. Especially in San Francisco, you ain't getting nowhere near that food. And if you get too close, I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to beat you with it. They were tough boys, right? So I'm there and I'm, oh God, club jubbins, but I couldn't get next to them, right? So all of a sudden, the stage and the crowd in front of the stage, they're like 100 yards away. All of a sudden, the whole crowd in 1 second starts to roar and gets up in one swoosh, in one move. They start to get up. I'm talking thousands of people, and they're all roaring. Well, what happened was, that's when His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, got up and started to dance. And when he put his arms up and started to dance, then the whole crowd just went up in a second. So I didn't get to see His Divine Grace, you know, get up and dance, but I got to see the reaction of the crowd from where I was at. And that was just breathtaking. That was breathtaking, man. So the next time I saw His Divine Grace was in 1975. Now I'm back in Philadelphia. I'm doing some job. I'm working at one of the big department stores downtown, Wanamaker's or something, right? And, you know, I think that for a year, I wasn't going to the temple much, right? I started going to the temple in 72. Now it's 75. I think for a whole year, I was eating LSD for every day. I was just eating LSD, right? I was just trying to be happy, trying to make some sense of it, right?
Into another place.
Trying to be. I was giving it a good go, bro.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, one day, late July, me and Das get a call at my parents' house. Prabhupada's coming to the airport. One of the South Philly boys is telling us. So me and Das, we go to the airport.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden, I'm even on the film. After 30 years, I found it. All of a sudden, I'm just dressed like a regular guy. I got the little shag haircut. I got my Tulsi beads on, you know what I mean? But I'm 22 years old. And I'm 8-10 feet away from Prabhupada. Prabhupada's sitting on this beautiful Vyasasana. Brahmananda's there. I'm up front with Upendra, Guru Das. Some Prabhupada's disciples, they asked me, how'd you get up? So I don't know, man. Prabhupada's mercy, man. You know what I mean? So this is what I was thinking. You never get to see Srila Prabhupada. I was thinking, I'm going to stare at his face. But I wasn't doing it in a weird way, in a haughty way. I was doing it like he's my hero, and I never get to see him, and I'm just going to stare at his face. So I'm there in front of His Divine Grace, and I'm staring at his face, and all of a sudden, I became very, very, very afraid. But it wasn't afraid like ghost. It wasn't that kind of afraid. Something happened. I don't know. Maybe His Divine Grace looked at me. Mm-hmm. Because I'm staring right at him.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any eye contact. But maybe he looked at me, because all of a sudden, man, whatever I had inside me that was false it dropped out.
Disappear.
And I was exposed. That's the only word I can come up with after all these years. I was just exposed, and I'm freaking out because I was so unsettled. And believe it or not, a voice inside me, I remember like it was yesterday, it said, look at his feet. So I stopped looking at His Divine Grace's face, and I started to look at his feet. And when I did that, I became calm, and I was able to relax and listen to Prabhupada talk to the reporters and watch Prabhupada. They gave Prabhupada this huge plate of fruit and sweets. So His Divine Grace, because I'm right there, man.
Yeah.
His Divine Grace, he took a little piece of burfi and he dropped it in his mouth and he ate it. Then he took the goblet of water and he, you know how he drinks, right? Way
Without
up here,
touching.
Not touching. He goes like, and then the coolest thing is that after he drank, he put his lotus fingers in the cup and he washed his fingers.
Wow.
And I was just so charmed by that. I was like, wow. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So then His Divine Grace gets up after talking to the reporters. And the reporters at that time, it was the time this brain weighs this much, this brain weighs this much. So the female reporters, they're firing on Prabhupada.
Yeah.
You treat blacks this way. So Prabhupada's explaining to her, look, we all got a different something we do for Krishna. You know, the men can't have kids. The men can't have the big heart like the women have, you know, and the women, they can't go out and do the big work and stuff, you know. So, and the blacks, we don't got nothing against blacks. So finally, he has a little garland on his lap, and he takes the garland and he gives it to Brahmananda and he says, give it to her. And when she gets the garland, she became very peaceful and she backed off. So then His Divine Grace gets up. Now he's going to go to the limo outside to go to the temple. So everybody's following him. Well, I'm right there. And there's that devotee holding that plate of prasadam. And it's just me and him because everybody else went. And I just went up to him and I put my hands like this and I said, Prabhu, anything. And he gave me 2 pieces, half Bing cherry that was in the fruit salad that was in the middle of the plate. And you could, when you see that footage, you could see those 2 Bing cherries, yeah. Right? He gives me them. So I'm like, whoa. So then I run and I find out where Das is. And I said, Das, I got this off Prabhupada's plate. I saw him eat off it, right? So I give him one and I get one, right?
That's a beautiful story, man.
Exposed.
Many people that have this experience that when they saw Prabhupada see through them like an X-ray and they could not hold
exposed.
They could not hold the false pretense of who they think they were or something like that. No, it's something like mystical experience, would you say?
Exposed. I couldn't figure out what was happening. I just went back to San Diego and I was trying to get my X2 visa.
Mm.
So I can't afford to live in the U.S. So I asked Bhadra Narayan Maharaj, he let me live in the Brahmachari ashram.
Nice.
So in return for a room and food, because I painted for over 35 years, they all know I can paint,
yeah.
Right? They're like, please, we got these projects. So I'm painting every day. And this Prabhupada disciple, he's so sweet. I told him that story, and he's the one that said, exposed. And that because I couldn't find the word to sum up what was happening to me at that time, right. You know? Exposed. So I went to the Rath Yatra. I don't think I went to the temple again while Prabhupada was there. got back into my la-la land. And then the next time I saw His Divine Grace was, I'm living in a hippie commune in Flagstaff, Arizona, by the Grand Canyon.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, it was real nice, right? And this is like all new to me, man. I grew up in a whole different setting. Now I'm with all these cool dudes, right? We're offering our food, in some kind of Mayavad way. I was like the Krishna connection, me and Das there and stuff. So we were right by the Indian reservation, the Hopi, the Navajo Indian reservation. So me and my buddy Rick, we got 12,000 peyote buttons. But because we were young heads, we couldn't figure out, dude, these are fresh. You ain't going to we wanted to take them to California, right? To our homies over there. Well, what you have to do is you got to dry them puppies out in the sun and then take the dried buttons. Now we're trying, we got 5 burlap bags of fresh peyote buttons, and they're rotting. They're rotting in the sun, you know what I mean? So anyway, we're trying to do that trip. I'm bewildered as ever, going through my Rahu period, working out my karma from the last life. So excuse me. So I said to my buddy Rick, Rick, we're right by the temple, the Culver City Temple. Let's go, man. Maybe we can get some prasad. So when we get there, we park the car. It was one of those little Volkswagen things that looked like a Jeep.
The Beetle.
Yeah, so, one of those things, and we park it. And a devotee comes up to us and he says, Prabhupada's here. Wow. He's in the temple room right now. And he's giving a lecture. So this is mid-afternoon. Prabhupada must have just arrived or something, right? So we go in there, and His Divine Grace was noticeably weak physically.
Which year it was?
It must have been 76.
Yes. So that's the time His Divine Grace have declined.
Yeah. So we stay in the crowd for about as long as His Divine Grace was speaking. Then we get back in our car and get back onto our adventure with the peyote buttons and stuff. So those were the 6 times that I got to see His Divine Grace. Now, I never remember any eye contact with His Divine Grace in those 6 times. And I surely never spoke to His Divine Grace because in these later years of 1970, unless you were doing something important for His Divine Grace, you will not be able to. You ain't getting next to Him, especially a 2-regger like me. I mean, when Prabhupada was on the planet and you were a 2-regger, you were just like nothing. You were like nothing. You were a fringe or whatever they called this, you know what I mean? You were like nothing. Now, iskcon has become much kinder.
Of course.
And, people, you saw Prabhupada and they're giving me respect. But back in the day, I was nobody. I was nobody, dude. I was nobody looking for a plate of prasadam,
So then, okay. Now continue, sorry.
So then, I'm living my life. I must have lived by myself until I was like almost 50. I couldn't hook up. I couldn't do nothing. The only thing I was getting is this Rahu period, and I'm just getting beaten. Here's another slice of humble pie. You puffed up fool. Here's another slice we got for you. You know what I mean? Not only are you going to work like an ass, but you ain't going to get nothing. You ain't going to have no family. You ain't going to have nothing, right?
You try very hard.
I tried. I wanted. I was going nuts. I'm biting at the bit. Right? But nothing's coming, man. Prabhupada says first deserve, then desire. You know what I mean? So then I marry a Thai girl. My my buddy, who's a Prabhupada disciple, Jai Gore, he's married to a Thai girl. So he goes, hey, Bhakti Nick, my wife wants to hook you up with some Thai girl. So I'm thinking, I'm going, oh man, I'm working my ass off. If I hook up, they're going to want me to buy them a house, this and that. I'm going to be working more. So she shows me like 5 different pictures of 5 different girls. So I said to her, I said, which one is the most simple? So she goes, oh, my cousin here. So I met Wavisa. Wavisa was one of the coolest chicks besides my first wife. Both my wives were so cool. They were like your wife, bro. They were gems. They were gems, right?
Yes.
I was the awkward one, right? She used to tell me, Wavisa, my Thai wife, she used to go, you think too much. You think too much, man. So anyway, I'm married to Wavisa. We're together for like 5-10 years or something. Then it just kind of drifts apart. I built her a nice house in Thailand.
Nice.
Actually, we built it together. I was painting. We were saving our money. And it's right where Wavisa was born, where her family lives, where her brothers and sisters
Out of Bangkok?
live. It's about an hour and a half car ride outside of Bangkok.
Like 150.
It's all in the rice fields and where Wavisa was born. So I haven't talked to Wavisa in a long time, but she got to do a lot of service. Because when we were together, we were living in San Diego. She was doing the deity's laundry every day, the towels, this and that. And every day, I didn't want Wavisa to work.
Of course.
I wanted her to go to school and learn English. And I used to just give her $100 a week. So she had her own coin. And so then we kind of drifted apart. Then my Guru Dev, His Holiness Gunagrahi Goswami, now he's been taking care of me since 1978.
He knows you.
He knows me since I was 25.
Batanik.
He knew my mind. He used to tell me, he used to stand in front of me and he goes, how's your mind? And I always hated it when he said that to me. I always hated it, man. Right away, as soon as he would say that, my mind would go, you don't know me. You know what I mean? Whatever, right? So Guru Dev knew me, right? So I met him in 78. I came out of the supermarket. I met him. He gave me a case of hardback Gitas, got me to distribute them. So then he was coming to our house once a month and doing programs and stuff. So then me and Wavisa are married. It's like 30 years later. We're married. We're living in San Diego. And we would have the devotees over and Wavisa would cook up a storm, man. We had Kerma's cookbook. We were making these like these barbecued curd patties and tomato and hickory sauce. Wavisa's making her spring rolls. She's frying them in ghee. We're making shrikhan. All the devotees, they loved our feast, man. We were pulling it all out, right? Guru Dev loved him. He would come. So Wavisa got a lot of points, you know what I mean?
A lot of mercy.
A lot of mercy. I talked to her about a month ago. She used to call me her advisor. So then in 2012, when I'm 60, I'm still not initiated. I'm the eternal Bhakti Nick. So Guru Dev, he wasn't Guru Dev then, Maharaj, he goes, Bhakti Nick, you need to get initiated. So I said, I don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know how to do that. He goes, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of everything. So I said to him, because I'm working, I'm painting. It was brutal. I had to smoke herb. Now, I never smoked a lot of herb because I would get headaches. But I would take a hit in the morning, maybe a hit in the afternoon. Just a little micro hit from a pipe.
Right.
And it would release me from my mind. I would be able to do these huge projects and stuff like that. So I said to Guru Dev, when he's telling me I should get initiated, I said, I said, Gurudev, I said, can I smoke pot up until the day I get initiated? So he goes, no. He said, Prabhupada said that for a year, you got a 4-regget and you got a 16-rounded. So I said, that's not happening, Gurudev. I said, I can't do that. I said, Gurudev, now my Thai wife never liked me smoking it, so I used to have to sneak into the bathroom, right? Take a hit in the morning. I said, Gurudev, if I don't take a little hit, I said, it's just a micro hit, I called it. I said, if I don't take a little micro hit, I said, I can't chant. So Gurudev looks at me, and he knows me since I was 25, now I'm 60, and he looks at me and he goes, that's stupid. He just calls it, right? That's stupid. I said, whatever it is, Gurudev, I'm locked in. I'm working this out. This is the way it is. So then the months went by, and every time I would go in the bathroom, my wife would still be sleeping because I'm getting ready to go to work. And I would take my little micro hit, and I would hear Gurudev, and he would say, that's stupid. It's like he ruined it for me. He just ruined it for me. So then after a couple months of hearing that, I just realized, what haven't I done?
Yes.
What haven't I done?
You did it all.
I'm going to get left behind. I figured I'm 60 years old. I can die at any time. I'm going to get left behind. So I called up Gurudev and I go, okay, I'm ready. And from that day on, I did what I was supposed to do. And Gurudev said, that is the best news I've ever heard. So then, after a year, I got initiated at the San Diego Temple. Now it's the Sunday feast. Now they all know me because I've been living right down the street for 25 years. And besides that, I painted that place inside and out at least twice. And I never charged them. As a matter of fact, I used to buy the paint because I was trying to do something for His divine grace.
Nice.
Because of what iskcon has given me,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm there and I'm getting initiated with my daughter Tulsi's, who was born in 1977, with her first husband. They got divorced, but me and her husband, and Tulsi never liked that. Me and her husband, we were tight. We were like joined at the hip, man. So we're getting initiated together, just us two. It's a Sunday feast, right? So Gurudev calls me up, he's sitting on the Vyasasan. He calls me up. He's got to tell me to bow down, right? Because I'm like, whatever.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, so much has gone on. He says, bow down. So I pay my obeisances. So then Gurudev, he starts to give a short little of my history.
Oh, yeah.
Of how he's seen me go through so many changes. How angry I used to be when I was young. I was the guy at the temple to where if you came and caused a fuss, I was the guy they called, get rid of this guy. Because I was nuts already.
Yeah.
Right? So I was the bouncer. Yeah, I had
You had the bouncer.
Yeah, I was the bouncer and I loved iskcon, right? Cool. So Gurudev's given a short
history of
my life. So then Gurudev gives me the mic. I start to tell the first time I met Gurudev. So I'm coming out of the supermarket and I see this devotee across the parking lot and he's coming towards me. Now this is 1978. And I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't know I'm already a devotee, right? So I'm puffed up because I've been with iskcon since 72, right?
Right.
Since Trulochan gave me the little verbal slap, right? So I'm thinking, he doesn't know I'm already a devotee. So when he comes up to me, this is my Gurudev when he's a brahmachari.
Yes.
He's not a sannyasi or anything. So I'm giving him the Hari bowl. I got my Tulsi beads on. I got my young fine wife. Her personality was so fine. Besides her being beautiful, she had one of the best personalities that she had a personality like your wife, dude. She was like that, right? So I'm there. I got a little daughter, like 6 months old, little Tulsi. She's gorgeous. Got these big blue eyes, right? So Gurudev's, he's quizzing me. He goes, oh, you live around here? I said, yeah. He says, you know people around here? I said, yeah. This is after I give him the $10, right? He goes, you know what? We've been doing really good on Sankirtan. You think if I gave you some books, you can give them out? So for my $10, he gives me a case of hardback Gitas, 20 hardback Gitas, and engages me in distributing them. This is the first time I met him, dude.
Amazing.
You know? So then I'm telling this story at my initiation ceremony, right? So, you know, the whole crowd's cracking up and everything, right? They're all laughing. So then Gurudev, he's got the beads and he's holding them out and he goes, and your name is, and then he keeps quiet for about 10 seconds, you know? Then he goes, Prabhupada Das. And just as soon as he said that, my arms went up like when you're riding the roller coaster on the way down. My arms went up and I just went, Haribol! And then I did it again. I said, Haribol! And the whole temple room, it's packed. They're all cracking up. Dravita's there. He's cracking up, you know, and my buddies are there. And I just been holding on to iskcon ever since, man. iskcon, I feel like I was born a frog and I got turned into a prince. I tell you from my heart.
I believe you.
I cannot live without Srila Prabhupada and iskcon.
I think you're becoming addicted.
I'm addicted. I can't live.
It's a different addiction.
Yeah. I can't live without Srila Prabhupada. Every day I have to hear his voice. Every day I have to try and be what Srila Prabhupada wants. And we all know that that's not a simple thing.
Of course.
You know, especially when you're brought up like most of us are, right? So that's my little history, dude. Now here I am. I'm sitting here. I'm 71 years old. I've been with iskcon over 50 years. And I'm just a happy little camper. And
it's an amazing story.
I got a little apartment here at Rasamrita Kunj that I bought before I moved here. It's just 2 rooms.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I feel like it's like
a shrine.
It's like a shrine. We have a lot of Prabhupada teacher and a lot of nice things.
So
Prabhupada Das, I can talk to you for many hours. And
I love iskcon. That's how I'm going to end it. I love iskcon.
Okay.
And I love you, and I love Nitai, and anybody that loves Prabhupada is my hero.
Prabhupada has changed our life.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada has taken us.
I've never been critical. I might have been angry.
Yeah.
I might have been frustrated because my material desires weren't working out the way I wanted, but I never was critical. As a matter of fact, one time my Gurudev, I was driving him to the hospital. This is when he had the cancer and he's trying these new, and he told the doctor right in front of me, it's the doctor and Gurudev. He said, see this boy here, Nick? He's very non-envious. And I thought, what a sweet thing to say. What a sweet thing to say about it. And then I thought about it. And really, I'm not. I never really cared. I never wanted to be you. I never wanted to this or that.
You are what you are.
Yeah, I always liked being me because I'm unique. And my greatest treasure is that I can't live without Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. So I always liked myself.
You have any parting message for the people who are listening to this?
Yes, I do. I do. I have a very good one.
Tell us.
It's like people ask me, how have you been around for 50 years? And I said, develop a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. and then nothing will be able to shake you. And then I say, always love Prabhupada and always love iskcon. Because if you love iskcon, Srila Prabhupada will love you. Because Srila Prabhupada, iskcon is his body. And everything we're experiencing, it came from Prabhupada's heart. You know? So that's my parting words. Develop a personal relationship with his divine grace, and always love iskcon, and always love Prabhupada. And don't criticize.
Yes.
Don't criticize. Look at your own bag of rocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
In other words, we must read Prabhupada books every day in order to develop the relationship. Because Prabhupada is speaking to us.
Yeah.
He said, my books are for the next 10,000 years.
And out of the 9,
for all of us.
That's the number one out of the 9 processes of devotional service. Hearing is the beginning. So that's what I do every day. As soon as I get up in the morning, Prabhupada, I put Prabhupada on. Prabhupada's on all day.
Yes.
You know, my Guru Dev asked me a while back, he said, Bhakta Nick, I'm giving these lectures in Dallas on anger management. And I remember when you were young, you were so angry. He said, what happened? So I thought about it because I never really thought. And I said, I had a Bose, one of those Bose speaker things, you know, played MP3s. And I kept Prabhupada's voice on it for decades, 24/7. And I wrote back to my Guru Dev. He said, write me a little paragraph. And I said, that's what happened. And I was listening to Prabhupada's voice all those years, and Prabhupada just changed me.
So powerful.
So I hope somebody listens to this at some time, gets a kick out of it, because, man, I really came from nowhere. I was a dull boy.
Prabhupada, I remember asking you this question many years ago, or a few years ago, and you told me, nah, I don't want to do this. I don't know. I don't want to say about my life. But then when I asked you recently, you say, yeah, let's do it. Because you know, there is...
Gangadhar.
No, I think because there is nothing to hide anymore. Our heart is clear. We are in Prabhupada's family. And this is what we were, and what we are. We are trying. We are broken can. We're bent can. We're broken glass, pieces of glass. But Prabhupada put us all together and said, chant Hare Krishna, go back home.
Right. He found the stick. He found the wire. He found the gourd. You know, and he played beautiful music, right? So you know what my latest realization is, if I can just say real quickly, is that we all have a part to play.
Absolutely.
In Prabhupada's Hare Krishna movement. I've been getting this realization because I'm always trying to figure, where do I fit in? I'm not Brahminical. I'm crazy. If you say the wrong thing to me, if you walk up to me and you bump me, then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to want to kill you, you know? So I got all these ghosts and shit, right?
Right.
So I've been getting this realization that, like, iskcon is like a beautiful orchestra.
Right.
And we all have a part to play.
Absolutely.
So that's what I do in the morning. When I wake up, I get ready, I chant, I listen to Prabhupada, and I always remind myself, I'm going to play my part. I'm going to go to greet the deities. I'm going to see the devotees. I'm going to hear them. I'm going to get the hat on my head of Lord Nishringa.
The shoes. It's not a hat.
Yeah.
It look like a hat, but actually it's
the
shoes.
You know, I'm going to get all this mercy, you know? And now Nitai's here, and you're here, and I'm getting to do this. I tell you from the heart, man, I can't live without Prabhupada or iskcon. And you know what? Prabhupada gave that to me. That's my gift from his divine grace, because he knows that this guy's nuts. This guy's got a lot of baggage. But Srila Prabhupada has allowed that I cannot function or live without him or his iskcon. That is my greatest gift. That's why I never want to be nobody else. I'm Prabhupada's dog.
Absolutely.
You know?
Thank you so much for coming today.
Ganga Das, he's my buddy. I
I'm your
love
dad.
him. And Nitai too.
Thank you so much, Prabhupada.
Sure.
It's a great pleasure for me to be with you.
Was that all right, Nitai? Did I do all right?
Yeah, no problem.
You guys should see this place, man, that Nitai set up here, this studio, man. You won't believe it. It's like he's like a transcendental Howard Stern with this equipment and everything, you know?
Thank you.
Bless me, Gangadas, that I could always love the devotees.
Always.
My only ticket, bro.
Always. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.